back to another episode of Works and Resources. Now, this is going to be something a little different, so I'm going to actually change my view a minute, and hopefully you'll understand something. Now, real quick, sorry about this. If you don't want to see the setup of why I chose what I'm doing for the video series about what's going to go on, about why we chose the spots, the resource deposits, the connections, all that stuff, the thought process. I do this on most long playthroughs. I give like a basic idea. It's a quick video. If you're like, I don't want to care about that stuff, I want to see the gameplay of you building stuff and transporting stuff, then please do me a favor, go to the next video. This video will be a like if it was a number, there'd be like, this is the 0 video. Like it's set up. So do me a favor, go watch the other one and don't worry about this one. Thank you. Have a wonderful time. For the rest of you, I'm going to get into why this is going on. Here we go. Let's go back up here a minute. I'm going to move this down a little bit, shrink it more. I'm going to change that little thing over here. Okay, so here's what's going on. This is our map. Our map is this. Let's see here. So here's the map. So that way you can see my camera's not touching. I'm trying to make it good for you. I've been off of YouTube for a while, and I want to make sure people understand. There's a video down below. There might be, like, if I could do it like right over here, it'd be really slick if I could. I probably can't. There's going to be a shortcut right here of where I've been the last 16 months, and you can go watch it if you want to. If you don't want to, don't worry about it. There's a TLDR on the right front that's like 2 sentences long. If you don't care at all, don't worry about it. Let's go play the game. So here's the map we chose. As you can tell, there's the border for NATO. There's the border. The red line is the border for the Soviet republics or the Soviet nations. And we are in the middle here. This is us. And I chose this map because of the cool looking trident. Okay, you got like the staff and the 3 tines, and there's another little tine over here. Basically, it looked really cool. I thought, you know, hey, I wanted some rivers, I wanted some mountains, I wanted some trees, I wanted a map that wasn't easy. I just threw it up. Now, for this video, we're going to be playing non-realism mode. Now, before you think, oh, it's so... No, listen. The reason I did that, I want to play a game where I have the safety net, because I haven't played the game in like 2-3 years. But actually, it's been like 16 months, I guess. But I haven't really been playing. I know there's been some updates to it. Some things have changed. And I have to get back into the YouTube jam as you were. So I'm just going to play something that looks cool, looks fun, start fresh. There's been some new updates, so the old maps don't work anyway, from what I've gathered. And I think they got partnered up with Hooded Horse, a company I've done some work with before, and I think they're pretty nice, or a publishing company. So I wanted to go through with non-realism mode. I'm not going to, however, there's going to be some conditions. I have to write, I'll put the video out here, maybe think later on. But what's going to go on is I'm not going to try to auto-build anything. I'm going to try to build everything from scratch with my own resources or by grabbing resources from the border, bringing them over and doing stuff. So with that in mind, I went through and I'm going to show it to you here. Here's all the coal spots. You can pause if you want to see them all. Next, I had all the iron spots. There's not too much of it either. Like, I've seen maps with like quadruple this amount, but I thought, hey, you know, not too bad. Then there's oil, which is everywhere. Then there's some little decent amount of uranium and some bauxite. Okay. Now some of you are like, well, I want to see it. Well, I figure a nice way to do it. Can I close this down? Yes. So what I wanted to do was I went through before the match even started, and I went and looked at every little spot. And I labeled them all. Now, how do you label them? And some of you are saying that you can't do that. Yes, you can. You go to Terrain Tools, you go to Create City Area, you dump it down, you click on it, like this, and then you rename it to whatever you wish. And you can use everything except for the percentage sign. So if you want to put percent, you can put like, you know, dollar sign. You can't put, hear that? You can't put the percent, and then you can put like everything else, but every other symbol works, but the percent sign doesn't. Because I'll bet you it's like a Python thing or a coded thing. I'm not sure what language this game was written in. And if you don't like it, just click on it again, remove it. So I went through all of these, and the naming conventions as follows. I put down, like, let's see, you can probably barely see it because it's very, very, very there on the gray. It says gravel 1, 86p, meaning 86% is the highest percentage I could find. 6 spots means there's 6 spots to dump a gravel. Now, some of you might be like, oh, okay, now why did I do that? So I can know at a glance, without having to take everything out and look at it and waste more time, what I can do with these areas. Like this area will hold 6 spots. If I go below 50%, I can add more, obviously. But I'm trying to make it worth the least amount of traffic on my roads, because remember what happened last time I played, we got very screwed over. So this episode will probably be very much disposition, what's going on. The next episode will be me going, all right, let's do this and put down all the roads and stuff like that. So if you're this far into the video, hey, thanks a lot. It's only 5 minutes, but I'm going to mention some of the other stuff. We also have Alphaville. What's Alphaville Temp? That'll be the first area. I've been trying to think of how to do this playthrough for literally about 3 or 4 months. I knew I was going to come back to YouTube, and I figured, how am I going to build my town? I've played this game 4 times now, twice on Twitch, twice on YouTube. And every time I always think, well, how can I do it better? And this time I'm going to do it where I have these 2 connections here. I think there's a third one. Yeah, there's a third one up here and another one up here. And there's enough roads to bring everything down here. These are what's called Alphaville. And the reason I called it Alphaville, it's only going to be there to help build up the most basic stuff so we don't have to get completely screwed hiring foreign workers or importing all of our resources and goods. So the idea is to put down, almost from the get-go, a couple construction yards, a little tiny area, maybe like 4 or 5, 4, maybe 5 to 10 apartments at most, which is a lot. If you think about it, it's like 1,500 people. It's like 1,500 people. But that'll let me have, instead of paying all of these people to come in every day and a lot of money going out, I will do that at the very start to make sure I build these things up. I'm not going to click down how the buildings automatically appear. I can do that in a heartbeat. But I'm going to build a couple of the free buildings, let the new ones come in, build up the apartment buildings, and then quickly cut off the source of foreign workers as soon as I can, because I don't intend to go making the mistakes I made in other playthroughs. So Alphaville will be built up, and the Alphaville will give us enough of a few people to have our own foreign workers, because if we bring in the alcohol, the food, the meat, I think it's electronics, clothing, and radios, and give them the most basic of recreation, like a soccer field, a pool, a cinema, a restaurant or 2, they'll be content. And you put like 1 loyalty symbol, they're good for the rest of the game. They will never rebel. They'll never leave. They'll just be like, yeah, it's not a great life, but it's a life. And they're okay. Okay. So the idea is to get that up and running and then use those workers to build everything else. And that'll lead to our second town, Abundance of Rye. If you thought I forgot Rye Munin, you're wrong. So this is one of our patrons who also decided he wanted to put 50 bones on the table to get the first town named after him. He chose Abundance of Rye. That's fine. So it's real close, as you can tell. It's very close. There's a reason. A lot of this area is going to be storage, and this area is going to be storage for materials we need right off the bat. The town will go here, going this way. Okay? I'm not saying it's perfect. I mean, it's obviously going to no contact survives, no plan survives contact with the enemy, as it were. Of course, the microphone was turned sideways, so hopefully I didn't annoy people too much. But I've got some basic stuff. So let me go back to the naming scheme. If you see all these oil spots, it's basically how much a single oil area will draw around it before you put another spot next to it would be another derrick or a pump jack. So I labeled them. I did it basically. I looked at it and go, and you might see a few little areas where there's dirt. I made some mistakes and put some buildings down and quickly canceled them. So I wouldn't, the map had to be 100% and the money had to be perfectly fine. Nothing touched. And I think I'm off screen. Yes, I am. Ah, crap. Oh, you can see that. Ah! Okay. So you can see oil spots. You can see the gravel. Here's how I did for everything: bauxite, uranium, iron, coal. I would go to the area based upon the building that would get the resource, and I would put it down. Like here, bauxite, for instance. I think I can show you this way. Let me see. That's a uranium mine. A lot of people don't even know you have this top bar up here. There's a bauxite mine. So the reason I did that, if you press 1, you put the mine out. 2, you can rename it. See? So I go, oh, I can put it there, and then put the thing down, bop, 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 very quickly. Now, what I did was, if you look, you have to flatten the terrain, but it's a 99%. So some of them I did this. Bauxite 4 means the 4th bauxite spot on the map, 99% if you put it here. I have to change some things around. It's not going to be easy, but at least I know that you guys know the naming scheme now. So the river looks good. I went all the way up. I stayed on this side of the river. I did not go across the river except for a few little spots like uranium, which are very, very rare, and I didn't want to do it too often. If I cross the river, which is my intention in this series, is to get some bridges across and make this area our own, where we have everything looking very modern. We have trains and trucks going both sides and using stuff intelligently and ships as much as possible. I want to not have a ginormous truck fleet like I've done every other playthrough. I'm gonna fall into it a couple times, and you're more than welcome to remind me. So I went all the way on this side of the world, or the map rather. and I labeled everything that I thought would be important. So all the resources are named. I saw that this area right here, which is very close, there's some connections over here. You've got water spots, you've got the river. I got to find out one thing about the river. I'm not sure if you pollute and put like treated water into it, like from the sewer, like you take the sewage water, you treat it with chemicals and you dump it, will it pollute the entire river? Or will, since the river looks like it's going this way off over the border, if I dump it here, will it only pollute this area, or will it go all the way up the river? I don't know the answer. I hope it's like real life and it won't go up the river, but let's go this way. But what I hope is, I lost my thought. Squirrel moment. Derp. Okay, so my hope is to get this area going very quickly with the town being here, some oil over there. This is the little steel mill because you got iron and coal real close to it with gravel to help build it all. The border, these two border connections have gravel on either side of them and also a river connection right here. It looks like, and some decent water for sewage and water reclamation, as well as fire. Everything should be fine roughly in this area. I'm not sure it's going to be perfect. I don't expect it to be, but at least I have a basic plan and framework. Like right now we have the abundance of rye right there. That's where the town's going to be. Farming area looks like it's good here and here. Steel mill here, oil refinery here, export port for like oil and steel would be very much here because you can put the stuff down. This is a lot bigger than I think. This is a lot bigger than it looks. If you take out the ports, which I think is under ships, the biggest medium dry dock, like the way it looked to me, like this thing should take out most of this port. Nope. Nope. It's a very easy area. You could probably put probably 6 or 7 of these up in there. You don't have to. It's just I'm zoomed out that far for this reason, to make sure you can see it all. There's trees galore everywhere. One of the few things I'll do when the game starts is to put down a few tree areas just to make sure trees start growing for lumber. Lumber is not that important right off the bat, and I will be letting the most cheapest resources be imported for a while, but I want to try to quickly move off to the to my own resources as soon as I can, because I've never done it. I've never done, in all 4 playthroughs, I've never really truly in the first 5 years in game gotten off onto my own resources. I've always taken way too long and screwed myself over and had to take massive loans. So as you can tell, there's lots of bauxite all over the place. There's water. There's lots of areas to pull water from for our people's needs for other sewage or drinking water, not in that order. I like the way this area is. I'm choosing to be on the Soviet side because last time I played, I basically would have played, if I'm remembering correctly, where's the map? We're over here. I pretty much would have started my town probably right about here. Actually, no. It would have been like here. It would have been here because this isn't the same map, but this is the upper corner up here is where the NATO factions are. I started my map last time up in the corner, the 2 corners. I started basically up here. It was a nightmare to get things running. To do a train line all the way across to over here, it took me so much money. I think I was in episode like 22 of like 30 minutes to an hour each episode, and it was terrible. So I'm going to make sure this time I don't make those mistakes, and I stay very close to the border. I've got water nearby. I've got truck connections nearby, because everything's built in rubles in the beginning. I know the game's changing enough that in the future there will be some very quick strategies to start off the game and have like NATO be the only thing you rely on for a while. Like there'll be trucks, trains, buildings, everything can be funded by NATO dollars. And I'm okay with that. But at the same time, after playing last time, I don't want to do it that way. So let's go to the quick little thing we're going to try to do. Everything on this side has been labeled. Everything on this side has been pretty much ignored unless it was right on the border. Like there's oil here, there's oil there. I'm hoping you guys can see this with how light the map is. There's uranium under the river. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do things. And then up here, giant bauxite and oil spot. Bauxite again, oil spot. And it's not right where we want to be. Like if you look for bauxite, you can see it doesn't look that big. It's only 2 little red dots there and there. But once you get to them, they're quite large red dots. And there's a lot there. Oil-wise, there's a tremendous amount of oil up here. But I'm not starting here. This is just eventual future expansion. So we're going to start instead, like I said, over here. Alphaville will get going. I hope to get rid of it within the first 10 years of the game and change everything over to Abundance of Rye. Now, some of you are like, well, then why are you going to build it off the bat? Because I want to have my resources as close to the border as possible. So if I put down storages here, And here, and the towns here, the construction yard can be here. The people can walk to the construction yard. They get the resources real close. They can import from the border very close and then build everything myself. If I have to go this far distance, it's triple the distance right off the bat. And it'll probably slow me down even more. And I don't want to be slow at the beginning. I want to be able to hit the ground running as much as I can without harming myself long term. And I think having a small area, I can even leave the area up. It doesn't have to, like that little Alphaville doesn't have to go down for a while, but I want to make it like basically, it's like in my mind, the way I'm doing this is, since we're not going to try to build everything we can auto build, we're going to build it with our own resources. It's better to have our own people as soon as possible. This is the outpost in whatever role play game aspect you want to, RP thing you want to take. Whoever gave us this nation it's an empty region. They go, hey, develop it. It's got a lot of resources. They would say, hey, you probably should make a little border base or maybe camp right across the border and start planning from there and build everything up from there. Not the first town is your biggest, which seems wrong. So in my mind, that's how it's going to work. We're going to go there. We're going to do that. I'm very quickly going to go into the steel mill area as I build everything else. Roads are going to be a huge thing. I've actually got a list for this. And part of it, I'll even read it to you for 5 seconds. Get a basic construction area, offices on the border, just right there. Start building storages for imports to save costs. Distribution houses to see if I have I can do the levels I want. Fire station ASAP, because I've seen a video where a guy built a lot of storages, and his steel area, which was absolutely packed to the gills, caught fire at the start of year 2. So 1961, like January, the steel area caught fire, and he had no way to stop it because he had no fire engine, no firehouse. I hope the game changed since then, but I'm someone who believes the worst, anything that can happen wrong will happen. So I'm going to make sure I build the fire station and crew it with my own people ASAP. Past that, it's just the basics to go down and start making ourselves self-sufficient. And one of the things is, every other playthrough I've done, I go oil industry first because it's very quick. You get oil, you pump it, you refine it, you ship it, you're done. That's all well and good, but long-term, it's not sustainable. Oil and bitumen, it's fuel, which is next page. Sorry, no, bitumen is right here. If we sell it to the Soviets, it's $194 per ton. When it comes to fuel, it's $116 per ton. I know you can't overdo it. If you do 200 tons of each per month, the price, I think it might be $250 or less, it'll start tanking the price. So if that's, knowing that's going in, I decided to make some change at this time. We're going to switch ourselves off of all the imports as soon as we can. And the reason is, last time I played the game, I went through the yearly costs, right, of how much I'd imported. And the number one import was from the Soviet area. And it was import of resources. And it was, for the whole gameplay, it was like the cost of steel was the highest thing we had done. Now, that's not the only reason to go make a steel industry. You're going to use a lot of it for domestic consumption. But the idea is, if I was spending over $3 or $4 million on steel, maybe I should not do that and get into my own steel production to be able to save that money. Because last time I played, I think I took $2 million loans to bring it up to 14 million rubles I borrowed. And of course, there was some income in there from what I did, but most of what I was exporting was bauxite, fuel, and bitumen, and a little tiny bit of power. I never got into food production. I never got into alcohol production. I never got into meat production. I never finished the steel mill. I never made aluminum. I made a lot of mistakes. So I'm going to try this time not to. And I know this video is very long and it's already getting up there. I'm going to try to keep it short today. But that's the idea, to get the town up, turn this iron and this coal into an area that feeds the steel mill over here. We will then use this area for gravel and oil, which is right, where is it? Right there and here. These oils will fuel our bitumen. I believe, I could be wrong on something. Let me see one thing. If I go to, I think it's under construction, which is under here. If we go to asphalt plant, it needs raw bitumen. It doesn't need oil. So I can't do what I want to do. I can't, unless I put up a refinery and fuel it, I can't make the bitumen I need. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to import bitumen for a while, right from the border to a tank, which is going to be in this area. The first construction industry, unless I royally mess up, and I don't intend to, will be right around here for storages and construction, as well as here, and they're going to fuel this whole area. So that I want to get these iron mine and this coal mine up to make the steel mill as soon as possible, so I can use my own workers to at least fuel it somewhat. If the coal out of here will help us produce almost everything. Right now, cement needs coal and gravel. Concrete, to make concrete, needs cement from the cement plant, which needs coal. Power, water, and gravel. So gravel, we've already got gravel and oil covered pretty well. Then prefab panels requires cement and gravel. Again, we have all that covered if we build all those industries in this order going this way. The asphalt plant needs gravel, power, and bitumen. We're going to be importing power. I'm not going to build my own. I saw how cheap it was. I was like, it's fine. And then finally, we have bricks on this one tab here. Bricks just take coal. So these two combined, some water, which we have oodles of, and power from the border, and we can have most of that construction industry up and running. Then you go to gravel, which is to how to make the gravel work right there, and the processing plant. Wood, it's everywhere. I mean, probably a good spot for it would be right about here because there's no resources under here. Then we go to the steel mill, which is metallurgy. You have the iron mines, which will be somewhere in this area. Let me look how rich this is. That's why I want to do this off stream. So that's all pretty good area for iron. Then you have iron ore processing, probably somewhere around there. And then you have the steel mill, which is not even that big. I mean, everyone thought that, like, in my mind, when I zoomed out this far, I thought the steel mill was about this big. Nope. And you also mirror it with T, if you want to. Most people don't even know that. And that don't watch the game that often. Yeah, I think we have a very good basis right here. We'll also have the ports if we need to move huge amounts of resources. And I learned since we played, middle of our last playthrough, when I was playing this, I found out how the import-export prices work. If you go over 250 tons of anything a month that you sell, it'll drive the price down. If you don't do that for a month, the price will stabilize. Another month, it'll go back up sharply. The third month, meaning 61 days later, when they redo the month, so let's say you do it on the 1st, you're fine. If you do it on the 15th, you have to go through 2 months. And then on the start of the third month, it'll back up into being the normal price. I showed the whole video of it, how to reset the oil industry. My fuel was down to $85 a ton. It jumped back up to like $125 a ton immediately. I turned off my exports. I was like, oh geez. So I want to be able to do the same thing. And one thought I have on that is if I export anything, it should be in a large quantity once or twice compared to overwhelming the border with train load after train load and truck after truck after truck. It's a little more planning. It's a little more watching what you're doing and making sure, but that's why I wanted the river on this one. If I ship to the border over here, the ship will go out here, go out this way, and come back very quickly. If I ship to the U.S. border, it has to go all the way here, or it has to go up this path, which I think is what it's going to do, especially with buoys, and it'll go off this way. If I ship a ship up that way, and the same ship goes to the Russian border first, it's going to take, before it goes back to the Russian border once, it'll probably take about a 2-month round trip, meaning the price can reset itself, especially if the ship I'm using, let's say it's an oil tanker, and the first time it sells fuel to the Soviet border, and then it sells to the Russian border, or sorry, the NATO border. And then it comes back to the first one and says, I'm going to sell bitumen this time. The fuel has started to recover price. The bitumen overwhelms it again and then goes back up. So you destroy the market, but you're making the same amount of work, a little slower delivery, and you're making more money for the same amount of resources and effort. And that's my thought of this whole playthrough. I know there's probably other ways to make it better with like distribution centers, going into higher tier stuff as soon as possible, which I do intend to do, but I want to stabilize as soon as I can, and having the trident and buoys should make it work very well. I'm hoping that's, by explaining all this up front, some people go, oh, I kind of get what he's going for. It's a very long video. I understand that. I'm going to pretty much cut it very shortly. Hopefully, if any of you were like looking to figure out what happened to me, like I said, the early part of the video, there's a description. In the description, there's another video link. You can see what happened to me. If by now you care. If you don't, that's fine. But all of this stuff, it looks really good. We got a huge amount of aggregates here. This is all gravel spots and one oil spot. So I figured an aggregate export terminal. You have bauxite here. You have gravel here. You can have them both come to right about here or right about here and then dump in, and we can ship it off without having to have dozens of different bauxite spots and dozens of different gravel spots. No, should you be exporting gravel? No, you shouldn't. But the idea is if it's already there and it doesn't take that much, at least I know about it. There's also uranium. And then finally, we go down to residential and long-term city building. The hope is to start, of course, being as independent of other people for our resources as possible. Part of that is drilling right down into that tree towards the steel mill. The other part, however, is we're going to have a big issue with education. And we're not going to have a very large we don't have a population right now. We have zero. There are no cities on this map for me to pull people from. So the idea is to get into education as soon as I can and start shipping in cheaper immigrants from the third world, which I will then train to be normal workers. I will also have my own university up as soon as possible without constraining my economy. As soon as the economy gets all the resources working and the people's need or have their own place to live and food, then we'll start exporting quick, and exporting is easy. You take something, you throw it to the border. But as soon as that starts stabilizing our incomes, our money's not going down anymore, and we're going sideways, then we'll start the education stuff. We will build it from our own stuff, so we can build it whenever we want, as long as we have our own stuff. But I'll bet you by that time we need a second steel mill, a second whole construction industry with everything we're going to be building. I'm going to be building a lot this time, and I want to make sure. I mean, yeah, I could put down if I'm missing like one piece of pipe section, a tiny little, okay, fine, I'll hire it. I don't really want to, though. I want to suffer through it. Unless it's going to kill me, I'm going to try my best not to hit the buy now button. And I think that's a good way to play this. So hopefully with all this disposition, with all the explanation, you know what's going on. Like I said, aggregates area, aggregate export terminal for all the normal resources that'll be coming out, including oil and steel, are going to be right here. You've got a tremendous amount of oil in the area that we can pull from. You got iron and coal right here. You've got the two borders right there, so we don't even have to use a ship for the while. We have multiple ways to get to the borders. We have a tremendous amount of resources on top of that. The one thing I'm not happy about is the amount of coal and iron versus every other map I've played. I think it's very low, but at the same time, I'm all right with it. And I like the fact that, like I said, the river is a good free highway for shipping. And what I want to do is make sure as soon as we can, as soon as we get our first steel mill, one of the first things I want to try to do is start putting steel bridges right across to the other side so we can, one, show our Republic's power. Number two, it just looks cool. I mean, I've never really built one that actually worked. Every time I've gotten close to it, the series always ends. So this time we're going to try to be a little more focused. And it's one of the few times I gave myself a to-do list for the game before episode 0 even started. Hopefully I made you have a reason today to enjoy what we're going to do. If this is the first time you've ever been here, you're more than welcome to hit the buttons down below that you feel are appropriate. If you want to do more than that, hey, that's up to you. I just hope you can come back by hitting the subscribe button. Past that, have a great day. It's 2024, day after Valentine's Day. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful year, and I'll see you in the first episode, which will start right after this one. Have a great day, and good night.